Thank you all very much. It's an honor to stand here today with this team, supported by our colleagues, to lead the Republican Conference in the 117th Congress. I want to congratulate Mike Johnson and Richard Hudson, who's new to our team, in representing with the rest of our colleagues. Over our past 2 years, our country has faced unbelievable challenges. And through every obstacle, I couldn't be prouder of the priorities of this conference. I can say without a doubt that this is the most united and energized Republican conference I've been associated with. We made a commitment to America that we would work to restore our way of life, rebuild the greatest economy, and renew the American dream. We've also worked to keep America safe. After Democrat leadership failed and bailed on our ability to work on the China task force, we went forward without them. And developing more than 2/3 of all the ideas in there to be bipartisan, to make a comprehensive blueprint to make sure we continue that America, that the next century is ours, that we bring back the work, the jobs, and the infrastructure into America. These efforts, contrasted with the dangerous Democrat agenda, delivered a historic political upset, fueled by conservative women, minorities, and veterans. As you all know, everybody predicted that the Republicans would lose 15 to 20 seats. Not one incumbent lost. On the Democrat side, more than a dozen lost. Much of that could be caused by Nancy Pelosi holding up any COVID relief bill simply for playing politics, or spending their time defunding police, or wasting their entire majority on an impeachment. Republicans are always focused on putting the people first before politics, and we will continue to do that work. In this next Congress, we might not be able to schedule the floor, but we are going to run the floor. With that, I'd like to turn it over to our whip, Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Kevin, and I also want to congratulate our leadership team. It truly is an honor to be going into this next Congress with such a great united team. Kevin as our leader, Liz as our conference chair. We have Mike Johnson joining us as the conference vice chair. Of course, Gary coming back as policy, and for Richard coming in as well, welcome to you. Tom Emmer is also going to be joining our team again as the NRCC chair. I think he's probably out recruiting right now for the 2022 class. That's going to get us back in the majority. But look, it's been a battle the last 2 years to fight for the hardworking families of this country that felt left behind by Washington for so long, and we've delivered a lot of wins for them. But there are still big issues left unresolved. I'd like to see us in these next few months get another relief package, in these next few days really, get another relief package for those hardworking businesses that are literally hanging on by a vine, those small businesses that we've been trying to help get another round of PPP forgivable loans so we can save millions more jobs. And Speaker Pelosi, for whatever reason, has chosen not to bring a bill to the floor that has wide bipartisan support. Hopefully she reconsiders and does that. But really over the next 2 years, we know what this fight for the future direction of our country is going to be about. It's truly a battle between freedom and socialism. And you saw voters across the country in all kind of districts reject the socialist agenda that Speaker Pelosi pushed for these last 2 years. She's going to have a tough decision to make. Does she continue catering to the most radical far-left elements of our conference, or does she work with Republicans to get things done for hardworking families? It's going to be a choice she'll have to make as Speaker, but we're not going to stop fighting for those hardworking families that make America work, that still are counting on us to work together for them. So we're going to continue battling for those hardworking families and fighting for those free market ideas that have always made America the greatest country in the history of the world. And with that, why don't I now turn it over to our newly re-elected conference chair, Liz Cheney.
Thank you, Steve, and it's really an honor to be here with our leader and our whip, with Mike Johnson, our newly elected vice chair, Gary Palmer, re-elected as policy chair, and Richard Hudson, who's going to be our conference secretary. We've just come from our leadership elections, and the feeling in the room and the enthusiasm and the excitement about where we are and about the hard work ahead of us, but the momentum and the energy to get that work done has been really remarkable. We have a tremendous class of incoming members, many of whom themselves have fought these challenges that we're fighting now. We've got 4 members of the incoming class who were born, whose families came to the United States from socialist countries, who've lived firsthand what it means when the government takes power away from the people and when people lose their freedom. And we are all absolutely committed to continue to fight against that and to make sure that the kinds of results that we saw in the House across this country are replicated and expanded in 2024. We also are committed to making sure that we do the work the American people have sent us here to do. As the leader and the whip said, the Speaker time and time again has proven that she's more concerned with placating the far left of her party than she is with actually getting things done for the American people. Whether you're talking about COVID, whether you're talking about health care generally, the extent to which they've embraced socialism across the board. So we're committed to doing the work our constituents sent us here to do, to doing it together in a unified way so that we can deliver, again, in a majority in 2022. And with that, I'm going to turn things back over to our leader.
Does anyone want to say? Garrett, want to say a few words?
Well, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to serve as policy chair. Kevin provided great leadership in working with us to develop the commitment to America, and it's resulted in historic gains in the House for us, incredible diversity. We really reflect America, but there's one group that's not a part of our conference, and that's the socialists. We have a conference that represents what I believe most Americans want to see, a conference that's committed to putting American families and workers first. I'm proud to be a part of it.
Richard?
Thank you. Richard Hudson from North Carolina. I'm honored to be part of this leadership team. You know, I represent someone who had to win a tough election to come back. I understand what it takes to win back this majority, and I'll be a voice for all the folks in our conference. I'm very excited about us working together in one unified message about what conservative principles can do to make America better for all Americans. And I believe that message is what's going to put us back in the majority in 2 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Mike Johnson, Louisiana. I'm really excited to be on this leadership team. We've got a strong one. And we had a very encouraging meeting with all the new Republican members. We filled the whole ballroom over at the Hyatt. This is a really exciting time for us. We know we have I think, a fateful 2 years ahead of us, and we're ready for the challenge. I mentioned to my colleagues just a simple thought that comes from Ronald Reagan, and he is the one that reminded our party that it's time for us to raise a banner, he said, of no pale pastels, but of bold colors. He said we need to make sure that the people know we need to be unmistakably clear where we stand on the issues that are troubling all the people. We live in troubling times, but we're very, very confident in our answers, and we're going to paint with bold colors, and we're going to lead this country out of this. We're going to get the majority back, and we think our best days are ahead of us. So I'm grateful to be a part of the team. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, R. As you can see, our party, especially in the incoming class, is more diverse than we've ever been. That's what makes us only stronger. We won from Miami to New York, to defeating a committee chair in Minnesota, to Iowa, to California, even the Speaker's home state. But I'm proud to say it's my home state, too. And we still have a couple more seats out there, gaining in New Jersey. I think our numbers are going to be well on the way to over 210. It's going to be exciting next 2 years, but we have work to get done this time as well. Hopefully, Speaker Pelosi will have put aside her partisanship and actually put the American public first, especially in a time of COVID, that we can get a relief bill through. When we departed last, we have a discharge petition on the floor for all those people who work for a small business. The billions of dollars that are sitting there that still could be used, or the billions of dollars sitting there for the states. I know Speaker Pelosi had held a number of her Democrats not to sign that discharge petition. If she won't act, we still should. All they have to do is sign the discharge petition. The bill can come to the floor. If they want to vote against it, vote against it. But I watched what they said in their rhetoric back home. Now's the opportunity for them to keep their word. So with that, let me open it up for questions, comments.
Yes, sir. How do you square the impressive gains that House Republicans have made in states all over the place with the president's claims of all these widespread voter fraud, irregularities, and so forth? I assume the same elections that were useful for you in California and Minnesota and Florida weren't also, fraud, infested pits of illegality when it came to the presidential side.
From one aspect, I've always firmly believed that every legal vote should be counted. every recount should be finished, just as they're going to do in Iowa in a congressional race, just as we're watching in New Jersey 7, where the AP had called the race and now they had to pull it back. So I think what the president is saying, the same exact thing. Let every legal vote be counted. We've watched races that we were ahead on in Pennsylvania. All of a sudden, Sean Parnell come behind when he was ahead by thousands of votes. We've watched races on the recount. Let's finish them all. We've got 2 in California still going forward. So it takes time. I think all the president is saying is let's make sure we take the time that these races are honest and accurate in the process. That's all.
Can I follow up on that?
Sure.
Do you regret it all, or will you do anything differently in the future as regards to encouraging Republicans to vote by mail if they think that's the safest way to do it? I mean, we've seen these shifts as votes have been counted that came in later.
Well, as we sit back and look, I think we need some uniform when it comes to elections. Absentee ballots have some protection to it. When you mail everybody a ballot that's on the rolls, we know there's problems. We watched in LA more than 1 million people on the rolls that don't even live there in that process. I've watched in my own community the number of ballots that were sent to people who were dead, who no longer live there, and others. You want the accuracy, and I think that's something we have to be able to work through. Some states mail to everybody. I actually vote by absentee, but I have to apply for it. They check my signature. They send me the ballot after I have applied for it. When I send my ballot back in, my signature is on it. They check the signature before they open. I think those type of measures are very important in the process of voting in person. In California, you don't have to show an ID. But I have to show an ID to get on an airplane. I think there's a number of things after this election and after others, not based upon a Republican or Democrat, but just from an accuracy point of view. I think we should sit down with a number of Secretary of States and people across this nation and find a way that we can make sure we do this in a more secure and accurate way, that every vote is counted. Yes.
What do you see your role as as a minority, a large minority, with the president of the opposite party? Is it similar to what you saw it as in '09?
I think it makes no difference. Our role is to make sure America is stronger, make sure America is secure. Or first and foremost, we have what we need to do in the commitment to America. We need to defeat this virus. That's why we voted for Operation Warp Speed. This is why we have 2 vaccines already in the process and more coming on board. We want to make sure we secure and make our streets safer. So don't defund the police, but add to it. We have an infrastructure bill. We have a bill that actually builds on our economy to add 10 million new jobs. The challenge will be is we'll work with anybody who is in that office, but if they have a difference of opinion, we're going to have to find common ground. And we're not for socialism. We're not for higher taxes. We will fight every step of the way.
Joe Biden has positioned himself as somebody who's uniquely qualified to break a logjam that he sees existed on Capitol Hill. I'm curious what your reaction is to that. That's his calling card of his campaign, pretty much, right?
Well, his calling card is a campaign. If I listen to what former President Joe Biden said, former President Obama said, is there's no difference between Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. If I watched what Joe Biden as a candidate said, he probably pretty much surrendered to the socialists, letting them write the Green New Deal and others. So I'm not sure. He was against fracking, then he said he was for it. I'm not sure which one showed up in the process. And if the election gets called in the manner of the way it's driving, we'll have to have that question answered. Yes.
Could you just characterize how you see the party being different, moving beyond President Trump in February? And if I could ask a follow-up, on stimulus negotiations, is anybody here on the stage planning on being in a room with Speaker Pelosi negotiating either before or after January?
No, we would negotiate with anyone. The challenge is, I've been through more than 4 of these negotiations, which ended in getting legislation from the CARES Act and forward. Every time when all the leaders were in the room, we were able to make an agreement. The only time it has failed is when Speaker Pelosi has taken control. Did it fail on purpose? I would say yes, that was her plan from the start, to harm the economy in the hopes of defeating President Trump. The election is over. I now would hope that she would put the American public first. That would be the critical part. I think the four leaders were in the room, we could probably get to an agreement. The difficulty, you've watched the administration themselves prior offering her more than $1.5 trillion, and she declined it. Why? She said, when you want to quote her back, and I might not get the quote right, she doesn't want any checks going out with President Trump's name on it. She doesn't want the president to get any credit. Shouldn't you foremost think, if you're a Speaker of the House, not about who gets the credit, but about what help will go to the American public, for those who are unemployed, for those small businesses that have a dream and watching it collapse simply because government is shutting them down, or to those employees that they strive to want to pay when you have PPP money already sitting here, already appropriated, but you're holding it up time and again. Those are the real challenges that I think should end, and we'll work with anybody to make that happen. But you know, the unique part is, even if the Speaker continues to play games, there's an opportunity, because everybody in Congress is elected by their own constituency, they can sign a discharge petition and make something happen. So the question is, would we work with them? 39 times from this summer forward, we put bills on the floor with an opportunity to vote when it came to relief packages. 39 times the Democrats have defeated it. So the question really probably isn't to us. The question is to them.
And sorry, a guy asked two there, but the first question, if you could characterize how you think the party may look different moving beyond President Trump.
Well, you're assuming President Trump is moving on. I think the president, regardless of whether he's president again or he's Citizen Trump, I think he will continue to play a part in this nation. I look at the number of members who got elected. They got elected under President Trump. President helped them get elected in the process as well. And we expanded the party. So how's the party going to look different? It's going to look broader. It's going to reach more people than it reached before. It's going to expand like we haven't seen, from new Americans to first generations to the expansion throughout. I think you're going to continue to see a desire to put America on a path where the next century is ours, that we have rebuilt our military to continue that, to make it stronger, despite what the progressives would want to do on the opposite side. We've watched that we've looked forward in making our streets safe and secure, despite what the other side will want to do about defunding of the police. We watched what we've been able to do with criminal justice, despite what Joe Biden had done as a senator by locking more people up just based upon the color of their skin. So yeah, we'll continue to build on all those things that we believe in. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, at what point do you think it's appropriate for President Trump to concede the election?
I think when the election gets called in the process of the states, just as we have a number of seats inside the House that are still counting. So if you ask my opinion, I think every legal vote needs to be counted. I think every recall needs to be finished, and every legal challenge needs to be heard. When those are all done, yeah, that's the appropriate time that you'll know the outcome of the election.
And then a follow-up as well. Do you have any comment on the president's recent decision today on troop withdrawal from the Middle East?
We want to make sure that we honor those who have fought, and we honor our sacrifices, but also our victories within there at the same time. We want to make sure that there are enough individuals that are still there that can protect the embassies and protect the gains that we have made. We're just coming through part. This is something that the president had planned to do. I think at the end of the time, you'll still see a number of American troops there for security. You'll see others from NATO participate as well. We want to see democracy continue to grow. So thank you very much.